Always love the intro. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the Sports Boxx podcast. This is your host, Coach Martin. Today, we're going to be talking about the transfer portal. So if you're a high school athlete, it's probably a bad word you do not want to hear or even know anything about the transfer portal. If you're a college athlete, you probably love it. So I get this question all the time. This is a question I get. I said, parents usually say, hey, Coach, is recruitment easier or harder with the actual transfer portal? And it's kind of both ways. So one, I think recruitment is a little bit easier today. Now, let me give you a little backdrop, right? So back in the day, you used to have to, film your son or daughter. You'd have to, you'd have a VHS. You'd have to splice it together. You'd have to mail it. It was costly because it's bulky, and you'd have to be able to do that, right? It just was a lot. It was very difficult. Nowadays, you really can get in front of coaches super easy. You can email them. You could, use software at the push of a button. Our athletes get in front of coaches, super, super simple. So that part's easier. But I think the process of getting recruited is harder today for an athlete because they not only have to deal with all the competition from other high school athletes across the country, and there's about 8 million of you, but they also have to deal with the transfer portal. So you're dealing with college athletes that, for whatever reason, they're not liking where they're at and they want to go to another college. So you have extra competition, which makes it harder. And on top of that, I think what happens is it's easy. So instead of a college coach doing the work and doing this research and investigating all these potential recruits, it's easier. Let's just go to transfer portal, grab somebody, boom, we're done, right? So it makes it a little bit easier. So with that being said, we kind of want to go through that. And I personally don't like the transfer portal. It's just me, and I get it. Sometimes it's necessary. You want to go to a better school, or maybe your coach left and you got a coach you just don't gel with. But here's my take on it. I always think that, just jumping from a school to school, you're missing the opportunity to grow through the issue. So let's say as an example, Joe is an athlete and Joe goes to ABC College and Joe was a starter. Now Joe's not a starter anymore. Joe's on the bench. So instead of Joe figuring out what he has to do to get better and get off the bench and get back in the game, he just jumps in the transfer portal and goes to another one. And I think that's the majority of the athletes that are out there. And you're not getting an opportunity to grow through that problem. That problem's going to stay with you forever. It's kind of like this saying that I've heard a long time ago and I always use, right? So school and life are opposite. Where in school, you take the lesson, or you do the lesson and you take the test. But in life, it's opposite. You get the test to learn the lesson, right? So if you don't actually, when you go through these tests, if you don't learn during that process, you'll never actually learn the lesson, and it'll happen again and again and again and again, no matter where you go, right? So I'm not a big fan, but hey, it is what it is, and it's here to stay. So as an athlete, right, you got to make sure that you're in position to be able to win, because think about it. I got a couple numbers for you. I read that currently right now there's 4,000 football players that are in the portal. So 4,000. I saw a stat the other day where it had 6,000 baseball players. I don't know if that stat is 100% accurate, but you're dealing with thousands and thousands and thousands of college athletes that you have to compete with on top of all the high school athletes. So it is what it is. That's the framework. Just know that it's not going away. It's here to stay. So now what can we do to allow us to get in position? Well, for one, you got to make sure that you're prepared. So you got to be prepared. So let me give you an example. If you contact a coach, a college coach that you're thinking you want to go to school there. So you contact a coach, and you're having these conversations, and then the coach finds out that you haven't even taken the appropriate classes to get into that college, right? So you basically just wasted their time. Well, if you waste their time and someone else wastes their time, they're going to be like, hey, I'm done with this. Let me just go to the portal. So make sure that you're prepared. If you're targeting specific schools, you got to make sure, are you taking the right classes, right, that are going to allow you to be able to get in those. Now, if you don't know what those are, make an appointment with your guidance counselor. Set up an appointment. It doesn't cost you any money. It's free. Let your guidance counselor know that these are the schools that I want to target. Am I taking the appropriate classes, right? And then two, obviously, you got to take not only the right classes, but the right amount of classes. So make sure that that's good. So be prepared. Number two, you got to have a plan. And we talk about this all the time, but you got to, whatever your goal is, you got to have the right plan and the right amount of effort. But right now we're going to talk about plan, not effort. You got to have the right plan to be able to accomplish that. So you got it. Don't get discouraged that you have competition. Don't get discouraged that you're competing with the transfer portal. Don't get discouraged on any of that stuff. Stay focused, right? Put the games away. Put Xbox down when you get home from practice and do the things that you need to do to be able to win your recruitment. Target these coaches. These coaches want you to target them. Most schools have limited budgets. They don't have unlimited funding where they could just go and reach out to everyone. So they want you to be able to do that. And not only that, it shows leadership on your part. So, and trust me when I tell you, if there's one thing that coaches need today, they need athletes that are leaders, 100%. So be that leader that they could trust on. Number 3. So you got the plan. You have to do the work, right? You got to commit to hey, if I'm targeting 30 schools, right, I'm going to figure out what 30 coaches am I going to contact first. You got to target them, right? Connect with them on social media. Connect with them, via email. If you're using our software, you're going to be connecting through this software. You got to be able to, do that. I always, use this line, but college recruitment is like football. It's a contact sport, right? It's going to take contact. You're going to have to contact them over and over and over again and have conversations with them. And then eventually you need to sell yourself as to why you're the person that's going to be a great fit for their program, right? So get used to doing that. Now, here's the deal. Most people are not good at that at the beginning. And you're like, oh man, I don't like to pick up the phone and call the coach. I'm scared. And what if I stumble? And it's probably going to happen. So I'm going to give you a little bit piece of advice, right? Find a family member that will be your role play partner and role play the conversation that you can have with the coach. So have them be the coach and literally have that conversation. I would encourage you, even if they're in the room, let's do this. Pick up your phone and call them. So even if you're calling your role play partner in the same room and have the conversation. And the first time you do it, you're going to be horrible. It's going to be bad. It's not going to be good. But guess what? When you do it the second time, it's going to be better. And the third time, it's going to be better. And after, 7, 8, 9, 10 times, you're going to be perfect. So now when you contact the coach, you're going to be calm, you're going to be collective, you're going to be well-versed, and you're going to be ready to go, right? And the coach is going to be like, man, this person's seasoned on the other line. So be prepared, have a plan, do the work. Don't be afraid of the transfer portal. Know that it's hard, right? It is hard, but it's okay. We can navigate through that. And trust me when I tell you there's a school for you. If you're targeting the right school, you're going to be put in position to win for sure. So there's a school for you. Don't be discouraged. But here's the deal. If you're not doing anything, you're not preparing, you have no plan, you're not doing any work, man, don't think for a minute you're getting recruited. It ain't going to happen. And not only that, now you're dealing with the transfer portal. So it's even, like I said, it's more difficult for high school athletes now than it was maybe 5-10 years ago. So, remember that. Do the work. You can't shortcut hard work. If you want it and it's worth it, you will do the work. If it's not, you'll come up with an excuse. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed it. That's some good tidbits regarding the transfer portal. Don't be scared. Attack it. Be prepared. Have a plan. Work the plan. Until next week, I'm Coach Martin. I am out.